Hakadosh Boker Tov. We are starting on Daf Yod Amud Aleph, 10a1. Okay? Yesterday, if you remember, we were speaking about a concept called Sha'ani Omer, or Tolin. Sha'ani Omer or Tolin means I am going to say, if you remember, we were talking about, for example, in Isur Veter, you've got, right, a meaty pot and a milky pot. And then I've got meat and milk. And one fell into one and one fell into the other. Now, I don't know if the meat fell into the milk or the milk fell into the meat, or it was the meat with the meat and the milk and the milk. So therefore, do I say a concept of tolin? Tolin means I'm going to make it dependent that the heter fell into the heter and the isur fell into the isur. Or another way of saying it is she'ani omer, that I am going to say, which means I am going to say that the heter fell into the heter and the isur fell into the isur. So says the Gemara, this is the last line of Tet Amud Bet, Emor de amrinan shani omer, maybe we only say the concept that I am going to say that heter went into the heter and that isur went into the isur, bitruma de rabbanan, right? On truma de rabbanan. Okay, bitruma de rabbanan. What does it mean, truma de rabbanan? Truma de rabbanan means that whenever it's a de rabbanan, a rabbinical concept, for example, nowadays truma is de rabbanan. And even the separating is D'Rabbanan. Everything's D'Rabbanan. So because of that, only when it's going to be D'Rabbanan would I say that the Chulin went into the Chulin and the Truma fell into the Truma. Because I'm going to say She'ani Omer or Tolin. Right? Why? Because it's rabbinical. However, though, Chametz, which is an Isur Doraita Miyamina, if we had a case of a pile of matzah and a pile of Chametz, and all of a sudden the rat comes, you remember the mice comes, it grabs, there are two mice, they grab, each one grabs from a different pile. They start running, darting into the houses. Now, I don't know if the mouse that got the matzah went into the house, which was already checked, or he went into the house, which was not checked. And the other one that had the chametz, I don't know if he went into the house who was checked or not checked. I don't know. So I wanted to say that what? Shani Omer, Tolin. What does that mean? I'm going to say the mouse that got matzah went into the house, which was checked. And the house that got chametz went into the house, which was not checked. And now it's beautiful. But he says, but that's Doraita. How do you know that you say that by a Doraita? You only say that maybe the rabbinical decrees. Not to, so says the Gemara, Atu bedikat chametz Doraita? What, are you going to tell me now the bedikat chametz is Doraita? Bedikat chametz is not Doraita. Why? Midrabbanani. It is the Rabbanan. The midoraita bebitul be'alma sagile. Mina Torah, the second you've done bitul, you're finished. The second you annul the chametz, mina Torah, that's it. That's all. You don't have to do anything else. Why do we do bedikat chametz? So if you remember a few dapim ago, we already mentioned that the concept of bedikat chametz was due to the fact that, for example, if right now you already did bitul, let's pretend you did bitul. There was no bedikat chametz because you don't need to. You did a doraita, right? You're a doraita Jew. So you went and you did bitul. You annulled. You said kal chamira dika birshuti the chazite udla chazite dviate everything. You did everything. You annulled it. What happens? All of a sudden, on Pesach, you find an incredible donut. Yeah? I don't know if it's going to be good after so many days. I don't know. Something good. A Twix. I don't know. Mamash a chametz, which is chametz. You understand? But a good piece of a chametz. You understand? Yeah? So you have 100% chametz gamur. And all of a sudden, now you're going to say, wow, what a chametz. You know, if I already found something, I might as well have found this. You understand? Like, you know, oh, this is the good stuff. So now the second that you do that, you're machshiv the chametz. You took away the bitul because beforehand you annulled everything, that nothing's here. The second that you find the gluska yafa, that was the lashon of the Gemara, a good piece of chametz, and all of a sudden now you were machshiv oto, you made it important, so now it's not annulled anymore. So now because of that, that's why the rabbis came and instituted that you should do bedikat chametz in order to make sure that you won't find it. Because if you did bedika, you're not going to find anything. You already checked. So if you check, so that's why the rabbis decreed bedikat chametz. So therefore, says the Gemara, what are you asking me that you only do tolin or she'ani omer, right? That I'm going to say that heter went with heter and isur went with isur, only in a derabanan and not in a doraita. Bedikat chametz is also derabanan. So it's perfect then. Heter and heter means, I'm going to say again one more time, we had two cases. We had the case of a barrel of let's say truma and a barrel of chulin, not truma. In front of it, you had two receptacles, two utensils, one of truma and one of chulin. They both got mixed up with each one. Now, one went into the other one. Now, I don't know which one. Did the truma fall into the chulin, which now becomes problematic, and the chulin went into the truma, right? Or did I say, no, the chulin went into the chulin and the truma went into the truma, which means, does heter go into the heter and the isur went into the isur, or vice versa? So whenever it's rabbinical, right, that's what the Gemara is saying, I always say that the heter went to the, I assume, it's like tolin, I make it dependent. Yeah. I'm depending, or she'ani omer, that I say that the heter went into the heter and the isur went to the isur. Why? Because it's rabbanan, it's rabbinical. It's zoraita, we don't do that. So we said, what happened? There was the two cases of the mice, right? There are two mice, two piles, one of matzah, one of chametz. The mice grabbed them and then went running to the house. One house was checked, one was not. If it's not checked, now you have to do, if it's not checked, so you don't care, even if chametz came in, because now you're going to have to check it. But if it was already checked, you're going to obligate the guy to do checking again. Remember, nowadays, people, right, they think the bedikat chametz is a ceremony. You understand what it means, a ceremony? Ceremony means it's a 10-minute ordeal. Yeah, you finish after 10 minutes. So, okay, you're going to tell a person, listen, you know what, do bedikat chametz again? Big deal. Okay, so another 10-minute ceremony. No problem. Bedikat chametz, the real bedikat chametz, right? Not the Mickey Mouse one. Yeah, we don't live in Orlando. Yeah, so the real one, huh? Yeah, Mickey Mouse is Achbarim. Yeah, the mouse. That's why I say we don't live in Orlando. Yeah, Disneyland. That's that comes from Ronen Cohen. Tzarich lagid it's a bishmo. Yeah, he has the register rights on it, trademark. Yeah, so we don't live in Orlando. We don't do the Mickey Mouse one. So what happened was the Achbarim that we're talking about here. What happened? All of a sudden, right, the real bedikat chametz should take you a minimum of an hour, 2 hours. You're right. You already came and you already cleaned, but at least you should look through everything. How many times does that happen all of a sudden in the middle of Pesach? You call up, Rabbi, I found chametz. Well, why did you find chametz? Obviously, if you only look for the pieces of bread that your children hid around behind the doors, you know exactly where they are. It's not a fun game. My children, they hide them in the drawers, right, in the closets, right, in between the clothing, very good. So we spoke about that yesterday when you forget that we said that the children always have to write down where they're hiding it, right, and then hide that paper until, if you don't find it, you have that paper where they hid it. And also they always have to make sure that every single little tiny piece of bread that they're hiding is less than 1 kazait. So therefore, even if it is that you do lose it, it's not the end of the world, because if it's going to be bigger than a kazait, then you do have a problem. So we don't do it with aluminum, we do it with paper towel. And the reason why we do it with paper towel and then we put tape is that way when you burn it, it burns. Because if you put it in aluminum, it doesn't burn. So then the next day you're coming to Biur Chametz, you throw it inside the fire and it's covered. So if it's aluminum, well, nothing's going to penetrate. So you didn't burn the Chametz. So that's what we do. We put it with paper towel, and then we just, we put a sellotape just to close it. You understand? We turn the two sides, so it looks like one of these, bonbonets, these candies, right? And then you hide it, but a small piece. It's a small thing. And then they would hide it in the cupboards and the things. I remember once it was in the etrog box. Another time they put it everywhere. Yeah, they put it everywhere. Why? Again, bedikat chametz. You should take a minimum of an hour. Minimum. I would say, some rabbis, they had to start 3 days before without a beracha. And they were looking everywhere. They looked at, checking all the pockets. You have to check your cars, your office, your businesses, your this, your that, your boats. You understand? Your planes. You understand? All these things you have to start checking. Yeah? Say amen. Yeah, so, right, which means that you have to check everything. So if you're going to have to start checking everything, it doesn't take 5 minute, 10-minute ordeal. So therefore, you're going to tell the person, listen, do bedikat chametz again. Yeah, I see Alberto is laughing, right? You have to check all your houses. Your houses here in New York, in Israel, in Venezuela, in Canada, and in Europe.
You forget the rockets.
Huh?
You forget the rockets.
The rockets also. You're right. Okay, very good. Fine, let's continue. So says the Gemara, Sibur echad shel chametz ufanav shne batim bedukim. So says the Gemara, imagine right now you have a pile of chametz, and in front of you, you have 2 houses which were checked. The ata achbar v'shakal. Now, the mice are always playing around. Remember, when the guys, when the boss is off, so the mice start playing around. Yeah, so what happens is the mice comes and he starts playing around. Now, this case is different than the previous case. The previous case was I had 2 houses, one checked, one not checked. Now I have 2 houses which are checked. So both houses are checked, and I have only 1 pile. And that 1 pile is only chametz. I have 1 mouse. That 1 mouse takes from the chametz, and he starts running. And he goes into a house. I don't know which one elal, which one he went up to. Yeah, I don't know. I know there was a mouse. I know there was chametz. I know I have two houses which are checked, and the mouse went into one of them. But I just don't know which one. So says the Gemara, Hainu shne shvilim. This is a case of two different paths. What does that mean? The Tanabas we learned on the Mishnah and Tarot. Shne shvilim. Imagine right now I have two different paths. Now remember, nowadays it's much safer, but in the olden days when people used to pass away, there's actually halacha, met mitzvah koret mikomo, which means that a person that passes away and he doesn't have a burial spot, they would bury him on the spot wherever he passed away. He acquired his place. Right? Why? Because that was the takanah of the chachamim. Now what happens is that even without that, many times they would bury people all over the place. It wasn't like nowadays, that they have a cemetery and it costs you, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 30, 40, whatever to buy a burial plot. You understand? Think about it. People have to work their entire lives just to buy a burial spot. So that way they could stay there for afterwards, right? But what happens is that here we're talking about a case where you have two paths. One path is tameh. Why? Because they buried someone there or along the path. The other path is going to be tahor. Somebody comes and he goes on one of the paths. And he did tarot. He started dealing with all these pure things. His friend came and he went on the second path. And he also did taharot. Now, all of a sudden, what happens is, what's going on now? What happens? Yeah? So says the Gemara, the question is, do both of them become tamei? Are both of them taorim? Is one tamei, one taor, the other one taor, the other one tamei? How do you do it? You understand? You have two paths. One for sure is tamei, one for sure is tahor. You have two people. One for sure went on one for sure went on the other one. And they both dealt with ta'arot. They both dealt with pure foods. So what do? Rabbi Yehuda says, if each one asked on their own, tehorim, they're both pure. Because basically what happens is that since we don't depend them on each other, and each one came to us separately, when Mr. A came, I'm going to tell him, you probably went in the pure one, so you're okay. When Mr. B comes, I'm going to tell him, you probably went in the pure one, you're okay. But not 1 second, but there's a contradiction. If he went on the pure one, he went on the impure one. Or if he went in the pure one, so that, how does it work? So he says, no. Says Rabbi Yehuda, the fact that they came by themselves, and each one I say that each one dealt with it, he did the heter one. But however, though, if both of them come in one shot, tameim, they're both going to be impure. Why? It's impossible for me to say both of them are pure. I know that one of them went in an impure one. So I cannot say it. It's a stira. Meaning I cannot put the stira right in front of my face. I can't put the contradiction in front of my face. I could do it one by one. Because then I'm going to say, listen, what you just did, you're okay. But then what you just said, you're okay. Why? Because I'm not mityaches to the other guy at the same time. So I'm going to say, listen, Mr. A, you went in the pure one and the other guy went in the impure one. And I say to Mr. B, listen, you went in the pure one, the other one. But I can't say it at the same time because that's a problem. However, Rabbi Yosef said,
if they come together,
Who says he's a pure one?
if they come together, they're both going to be, that's what we just said. Rabbi Yehuda says if they both come together, they're both tameim. They're both.
Okay.
And the reason why is because since I cannot make either one pure, so automatically both of them become impure. Okay? Which one?
All right. Yeah.
No, you went on a path, but one of the paths have a dead body along the path. So because of that, that path is impure. Now, you don't know which path you went to, right? We're not talking about a Kohen. We're talking about two Israeli. So two regular Jews. So one regular Jew, another regular Jew. You both went on different paths. One path for sure is Tameh. They don't know which path they went on. They both went on, that means they for sure went in one path, the other one went on another path. One of them is for sure Tameh, and they both dealt with Tarot. They both dealt with pure foods. So now what do? So if they both came to us separately, they're both pure. They both came to us together, they're both Tameim. Says Rabbi Yosef, it's a concept. Ben kach u ben kach, Tameim. They're always, both of them are going to be Tameim. Doesn't matter whether they came to ask at the same time or they came one after another. They're both Tameim. Right? So now says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Rava says, Vitema Rabbi Yochanan, it says Rabbi Yochanan, Bevat achat, if they both came together, Divrei akol Tameim. According to everybody, they're Tameim. Why? As we said before, it's impossible to come and say, right, that they're both pure. It's impossible. They both have to be Tameim. However, though, it says over here, if they came one after another, Divrei akol Teorin, according to everybody, it's going to be Taor. Lo nechleku, so when is the machloket? Ela beval isha elalav val chavero. If one person's coming to ask for both. Meaning again, one more time, at the beginning of the Braita, we said that Rabbi Yehuda says it all depends how they came in and asked. If they ask together, both of them are impure. If they ask separately, both of them are pure. Says Rabbi Yosef, they're always impure. Says Rava, no. You have too big of a machloket. Let me try to narrow down the machloket. If they come to ask one after another, according to everybody, they're pure. According to everybody, whether Rabbi Yosef or Rabbi Yehuda. If they came to ask together, according to everybody, impure. Whether Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yosef. Simple. When is the machloket? The machloket is only going to be if one person came to ask, but he asked on himself and his friend. So there was one person coming to us, and he asked on himself and his friend. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yosef says that the fact that you come to ask on yourself and your friend, it's like you both came to ask together. And therefore you both tmeim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he says it's one after another. And therefore, since it's going to be compared to the case of one after another, they're both going to be teorim. Okay, they're both going to be impure. That according to Rabbi Yosef, right, the case is that, let's say I come, right, and I asked not only for myself, I asked for myself and my friend. So now Rabbi Yosef says the fact that I asked for myself and my friend, it's compared to they both came together. And therefore, they're both impure. According to Rabbi Yehuda, no, it's compared that they both came separately. So therefore, they're both pure.
Is this like a concept of not taking sides?
A little bit. It's a little bit of not taking sides, but this halakha, by the way, applies to many things. For example, I'll give you the case where it applies to. You have 3 pieces of meat. Yeah, one of them is not kosher, and it gets mixed up to the other 2. So batel berov. What does batel berov means? That it's annulled in the majority. Are you allowed to eat all 3 pieces? So you're allowed to eat all 3 pieces, right? Even though it's a machloket, but shita manan, you're allowed to. Are you allowed to eat all 3 pieces together?
So many people will throw it out.
Very good. Okay, well, many people throw out all 3.
Yes.
But even if some other people, they'll eat 2, and the third one they'll throw out. That's, if I remember correctly, I think it's shitat ramad, is the siman kuftet. Yeah, however, though, right? But you cannot eat all 3 at the same time. Now, why? Because when I eat the first one, I'm going to say the first one's kosher, the second one's tarif. When I eat the second one, I'm going to say that the second one's kosher, the third one's tarif. When I eat the third one, I'm going to say the kosher, one of the other 2 was tarif. Which means that I can't do all 3 at the same time. It's a contradiction. I cannot say that they're all not tarif. I know one of them is tarif. I just can't recognize it. You understand? Obviously, we can't recognize it. Because if you can recognize, there's no such thing as betul berov. Betul berov is only if you cannot recognize it. Okay? So it's the same concept that we're saying here. As long as they're separate entities, I'm going to say, listen, you asked me a question. I don't know about the other guy. So you came, you don't know which path you went to. Then afterwards, you dealt with tarot. I'm going to say, you're still okay. You're a nice guy. Yeah? So I'm going to say, you're okay. The second guy comes to me. I'm going to say the same thing. When they both come together, now I have a contradiction. I can't say that you're both okay. I know one of you are not okay. Now, why am I going to choose you over you? So you're both not okay. That's the concept. You're both not okay. Says the Gemara. Okay? So says the Gemara, Safek al, Safek lo al. What about if this case, again, we're talking about, again, you have the mouse grabbing the chametz, and now you have a doubt whether the achbar went into the house at all. Beforehand, you had one mouse running into a house. Now, I don't know, for sure he had chametz in his mouth. For sure he had chametz. And both of the houses were checked. So now I don't know which house he went into. So that's shnei shvilim. It all depends. Did they come to us together? Did they come to us separately? That's that case. This case now is a little bit different. You have the mouse, you have the chametz, you have the house which is checked, but now I don't know if the actual mouse went into the house or not. I saw the mouse grab the chametz and run, but I don't know, and I saw him run towards the direction of the house, but I don't know if he actually penetrated. I don't know if he actually got into the house. So safek al lo al, hainu bika. So now this is another case. What is the bika case, the valley case? The machlok Rabbi Eliezer v'Rabanan. The time was we learned in the Mishnah in Tarot. Hanichnas lebika bimot hageshamim. Imagine right now you went into a bika in the raining season. The bika is like a valley in the raining season. So here it says it's like a reshut yachid for tumah. Why? Because since it's a raining season, right, people can't just come and start passing by other people's fields, because then you ruin it. Imagine, right, in the raining season, I can't pass by your field. If it's going to be the dry season, there's no rain anyway, it can't grow anything. So, okay, fine, I'm going to pass by. Fine, that's one thing, but not in the raining season. So therefore, it's considered a reshut yachid. Remember, to do with the reshut yachid were machmirim in tumah. Reshut rabim, safek b'reshut rabim, safek tumah b'reshut rabim, tahor. Safek tumah b'reshut yachid, tameh. Which means whenever you have a doubt of tumah, of purity and impurity, In the Reshut Rabim, in a public domain, it's pure. In a private domain, it's impure. Okay, that's a general rule. Okay, so now says the Gemara, right? What happens is that the tumah besadeh plonit, and you know that there was tumah, which means there's a kever, there's a tombstone, there's a body, a deceased, in a certain field in the bika. One person says, I went into the field, but I don't know if I went into that part or not. Meaning, I went inside the bika, the valley, but I just don't know if I went into that field or I didn't go into that field. Rabbi Eliezer metaher, Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be tahor. Chachamim metamim, and Chachamim say it's going to be tameh. Why? Sheyar Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer used to say, safek bi'ah, which means a safek whether you came in or not, is tahor. Safek magatuma, tameh. But if it's a safek whether I touched it or not, that's tameh. Which means when the safek is whether bichlal I went into the field or not, there I'm going to say tahor even in a private domain. Because maybe you never went in at all. However, though, when the safek is not whether you went in or not, that you went in, for sure you went in. The only safek is, did you touch it or not? There I say it's tameh. Okay? That means, bichlal did you, there's b'reshut yachid, which means, did you go there at all? I'm going to be lenient. But if you already went, now I'm going to say that you have to be strict. Maybe I didn't touch it, doesn't matter. Now you have to be strict. That's the concept. Okay? Fine. How does it apply to the mouse? So therefore, if there's a doubt whether it went up or not went up, so then you're going to be tahor, even in Reshut Yachid. Here, the house, your private house is Reshut Yachid. So therefore, just like your house is a Reshut Yachid and it's a private house, you had a doubt whether the mouse went into the house or not. So just like over here, if you have a doubt whether you went into the bikah or not, so safek bi'ah is tahor even in Reshut Yachid. And this is safek bi'ah. Safek bi'ah means safek whether you came in or not. Okay? Capish?
Second. So the safek is in the Yechid. In the Rabin, it's always
tahor. Safek is always going to be tahor. Yechid it's tameh. So here,
now here we don't even know.
We don't even know if it came into the house. So the fact that it came into the house, that's called safek biyah. Safek biyah means safek that it come inside, right? Right? To go inside. Yeah. Right, lavo, biyah.
Okay. And how does it play?
Yeah, everyone understood? So basically,
I have a question.
Biyah in the Reshut Yachid is going to be tahor, which means even though usually safek tumah in Reshut Yachid, meaning a doubt of tumah of impurity in the private domain is tameh, is impure, the fact that maybe it didn't come in at all, pure. Safek biyah going into the Reshut Yachid is pure. So to here, the mouse, I don't know if the mouse actually went into the house or not. So therefore, even though I have a doubt to do with the Reshut Yachid, it's going to be pure. Yes.
But why they compare?
Right now, you went into the field. You went into the bikah. No, you went into the bikah, but you don't. The bikah is the valley, in the valley, but you don't know whether you went into that field or not. So there, you're going to be pure because the path, like in that path where that field, there's a valley, and then there's like a path or there's a field in the valley.
You went to the valley, but
You're not sure whether you went inside. So the fact that you don't want to go inside, it's a fake. So therefore, it's going to be tahor. What did you want to ask, Alberto?
Why? Yes. Why they compare if the mouse is when goes into the house, it compares if it's tameh or if it's not tameh, like with a dead thing, if it's are totally different things.
One of them is tumah v'tara, which is purity and impurity, and one of them is a concept of tumah v'tara, but it's not purity or impurity. It's basically chametz, which you're not allowed to have in your house. So I'm comparing now the purity and impurity to the chametz to the concept. Do I have to check the house again for chametz or not chametz? You're right. One is tumah v'tara, a deceased body. One of them is tumah v'tara, a more spiritual one of chametz.
Yeah, and the other thing is that
the
thing with the mouse is something that you're not doing. You don't do it in purpose. It's something that it can happen and you don't even know about it.
The same thing here. You don't even know whether you went in or not. You don't know whether you went into. Obviously, you don't want to go beside a deceased body. Say there's no purpose. I'm saying unless you're a grave digger, like I don't think you have a purpose of coming and going beside a deceased person. You understand? Now all of a sudden it happened accidentally, if it did happen. So the exact same thing. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Let me ask you something, Rabbi.
Yeah.
That kind of happened also with a.
So says the Gemara, Al ubadak velo ashkach. So imagine right now, we did see that the akhbar, that the mouse came inside the house with a chametz, and you did do bedikat chametz again, velo ashkach, but you didn't find anything. So imagine right now, this is the fifth case. For sure, you saw the mouse taking the chametz, coming into the house, and then you say, okay, fine. So obviously, what's halacha? You have to do bedikat chametz again. You did bedikat chametz, and then you come back and you say, Rabbi, I didn't find anything. I did the bedikat chametz again, but I didn't find anything. So what's halacha? So says halacha, plukta Rabbi Meir v'Rabbanan. It's a machloket Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan. It's now as we learned in Mishnah Maseches Nida, Samech Aleph Amud Aleph. Haya Rabbi Meir omer. Rabbi Meir used to say, Kol davar shebechizkat tuma, anything which is bechizkat tuma, leolam hu betumatot shivada lecha tuma hechani. Anything which has a status quo, which has a chazakah that it is tameh, it stays tameh until you find where the tuma is. Meaning, if you didn't find the tuma, it's tameh. Where is it? I don't care, but it was tameh. I saw the mouse come in. There was chametz. Where did it go? No idea, but look better. So until you don't take it out, yeah, that's what it says here. Right? It says over here, it's still tameh. Chachamim says, bodekat shemagia lesela or lekarka betula. He says over here, what you have to do is you have to start digging up until you get to a karka betula or lesela. Karka betula is like a virgin ground, which means that nobody dug it before. Or a sela until you got to stones, which means that if there was tuma here and you start digging and all of a sudden now you got to there, so now you're going to say, listen, there's no tuma anymore. Why? Because I got to a place where nobody dug before. I got to a place to stones, so obviously it's not here. So therefore, if you didn't find anything, you're okay. I'm going to say that maybe the anorev, an achba, whatever it is, somebody else took it. So therefore, according to the rabbis, right? According to the rabbis, you're okay. Why? You didn't find it. That's it. Yeah, you did b'dikat chametz. That's it. According to Rabbi Meir, he's stringent. Okay, so that's a machloket. So obviously, if we could probably say we're going to probably paskin like the Rabbanan, right? But let's see. Okay. Now, alu badak v'ashkach. If you went up and you did do b'dikat chametz and you did find it, so now the question is, was it the same piece? Ashkach, yeah. Yeah, what does that mean? You went and you did find it. Now the question is, right, did you find the right one? Which means maybe there was another one. So says the Gemara. Yeah, there's a second time he does b'dikat chametz. So says the Gemara, plukta de Rabbi v'Rashbag. It's a machlok between Rabbi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. The time was we learned in a Braita. Sadesh neva ba'kever. What happens if you have a field that somebody was buried in the field, but you don't know where they are anymore? Hanichnas letocha, right? If somebody goes into the field, he's going to be tameh. Why? Because maybe he was already on top of the kever. You don't know, right? We don't know where the kever is anymore. Nimtza ba'kever. If you did find the kever, hanichnas letocha tahor. There's somebody that goes in is going to be tahor. Shani omer, but I'm going to say kever shavad or kever shemitzad. The one that I lost was the one that I found. These are the words of Rebbe. So the one that I lost is the one that I found. So Rebbe, the same thing. You went into the house with a mouse. You found the chametz. The one that you lost, meaning the one that the akhbar brought in, was the one that you found. These are the words of Rebbe. The same thing. The dead body, right, got lost. So if you go inside, you're going to be tameh. What happens if I found the kever now? So says Rebbe, the kever that I found was the kever that I lost. So therefore, I'm going to be pure. Unless obviously I go around that kever, right? I'm going to be pure. So it's the same thing. I went, I found the chametz. So that was the chametz that I lost, right, with the akhbar, with the mouse. Rashbag says, no. Tibadek kol hasadeh kula. Even if you found one kever, you have to check the entire field. Why? Maybe there's another kever. So according to Rashbag, you have to, meaning that here the question is, right, do I have to come and continue the check or not? Because that's actually a good question. Imagine right now I started doing the bedikat chametz the second time around, and I found the chametz after 1 minute. Do I have to finish the bedika? Yeah. Well, that's the machlok between Rebbe and Rashbag. According to Rebbe, the second I found it, that was a piece that I found, that was a piece that I lost. So if I don't have to continue checking. According to Rashbag, check the entire house. Just like you have to check the entire field.
The entire house because that
may have been another one. From the previous, and I didn't realize, and I didn't find it.
The Rabbanan, as long as you did Kalchan Mira, everything's gone.
We would have to check. It's not written here because there's the Zayin and everything. I'm not sure.
Because
it doesn't say.
Because the Bidika is the Rabbanan. You annulled it.
Very good. That's a good svara. It's the Rabbanan, and if you're going to null it, so probably it's the Rabbanan. You would probably be lenient, but he doesn't bring down here. We do paskin like the Chachamim in the last case, which was leniency. In this case, it just says it's a machloka, but it doesn't say who we paskin. Okay, next, sixth case. Hiniach teisha b'matzah eser. What happens if you put 9 pieces of bread for the Ikat Chametz and he found 10. So says the Gemara, Plukta de Rebbe v'Rabbanan. It's a machlok between Rebbe and Rabbanan. The Tanya was learned to the Braita, Iniach maneh v'matzah matayim. Imagine right now I put 100 zuz of Maaser Sheni, right? So I put Maaser money into a box, and all of a sudden I found 200. So I put 100 and I found 200, right? Right. So it says over here. So what happens, right? Do we say that the money of Maaser Sheni was already there, and now you had a money of Chulin? So do we say it's Chulin and Maaser Sheni? Muravin zebezeh. These are the words of Rebbe. Chachamim omnim akol Chulin. Everything's Chulin. He says why everything that was found is Chulin. Right? He says why? Because he says the whatever that you put money there, you already took it out. So the same thing. Which means since you didn't find the exact same amount like last time, so I'm going to say that whatever you put in, you actually took out, and this is different money. It's not the same money. Because if you put in 100, now you found 200, it's not the same money. So therefore, obviously, whatever you put in Maaser Sheni, you probably already took it out, and this is all Chulin. That's according to the Chachamim. According to Rebbe, no, you've got mixed. You've got 100 of Maaser Sheni and 100 of Chulin. So says the Gemara, according to this, yeah, it's the same thing. If you have 9 and then you found 10, so according to the rabbis, you have to check again the entire house. Because maybe be'emet, these are other pieces, right? And that means they're completely different. But according to, what was the first opinion? According to Rebbe, he says, no, these are the 9 pieces, but you just have one other piece that was not connected. Okay, one more time. You have money, okay? So what happened with the money was you put 100 of Maaser in a box. All of a sudden you come back and you find 200. So according to Rebbe, you have 100 of Maaser and 100 regular. So the same thing, when we're going to compare it to 9 pieces of bread and you found 10, so you have 9 pieces of bread that you put and 1 which was regular, no problem. So you don't have to do any more b'dikat chametz. You found them and that's it. According to the rabbis, though, Chachamim, they say no. The Maaser, you already took it away. Because you only put 100 Maaser, now you found 200. So therefore, what is this? It's all Chulin. It's all other money. So according to that, according to the rabbis, if you put 9 and you found 10, well, the 10 that you found was completely different breads. So now you have to do b'dikat chametz on the entire house again to find the other 9.
So according to the rabbis, you must have forgotten or you must have made a mistake.
Yeah, you must have made a mistake.
Mixed the money.
No, but that's what he's saying. He said you didn't mix the money. This is new money because you didn't find the same amount. And how did they come all together? It wasn't like you found 100 here and then you found no. It was all together, and all of a sudden you're like something's wrong here. You understand?
So it's a human.
Yeah, it's a human error.
So
Human error, and that's why you have to come go back to 0. Exactly, go back to 0. Okay. Now the opposite case. You put 10 pieces of bread and you only found 9. Yeah. So hainu seifa. That's a seifa. The time we learned to the Braita. Hiniach matayim. What happens if you put 200 zuz of Maaser Sheni? V'matzah 9, you only found 100. So mana munach u'mano mutal. So says the first shita Rebbe, you took 100 and you left 100. So again, Rebbe is the same mindset. Rebbe is not we're going to say that, this is new, panim chadashot ba'olam, that it's a new entity. It's the exact same thing, right? So therefore, you took 100, you left 100. Chachamim omnim, no, hakol chulin, everything's chulin, because everything's different. So the exact same thing. According to Rebbe, the fact that you went and you found 9, you put 10, you found 9, you found the 9 out of the 10, you still have to look for 1. According to the rabbis, you have to look again for another 10, because this is a new entity. There's nothing here. Daf Yoda Mubet, 10b. Hiniach bezavit zo umatzah bezavit acheret. Imagine right now you put chametz in a house, which you already checked, and you're going to leave your breakfast for the next morning in a certain corner of the house. The next morning you found in another corner. So plukta de rashbag v'rabbanan. It's a machlok between Rav Gamliel and Rabbanan. The Tana's will learn to the Braita. Kardom shavad b'bayit. Imagine right now you lost a kardom. Kardom usually they translate as a hammer, no? Or axe? Axe. Okay, axe. Okay, so they lost an axe. Okay, a bayit tameh. So the bayit is going to be tameh. Why? Shani omer adam tameh nichnas hasham untalo. I'm going to say that somebody that was tameh came in, right, and he touched it, right, and he took it. Rashbag omer abayit tahor. The bayit is pure. Why? Shani omer he shilo leacher v'shachach. You probably lent it someone and you forgot. Or shenetalo mizavit zivin v'shachach. You put it from one corner to another corner and you forgot. So basically what's happening is that this Braita was, you had an axe. You lost the axe in your house. So now I'm going to say that all the utensils in the house are tamim. Why? Because I'm going to say that somebody that was tameh came into the house, he took the axe, right? And then what happened was he touched other utensils as well.
You lost it? Or
you lost it. No. One second. You lost it. You lost it. One second. You lost it. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to say, right, that everything is going to be tameh. Why? Somebody that was tameh came into the house, he touched everything, and he took the axe. Now Rashbag says, no. The bait is tahor. Why? I'm going to say that you lent it out to somebody and you forgot. Or you put it from one corner to another corner and you forgot. That means you yourself, you did it. So the Gemara is going to ask, Zavit, Mande Chashmeh. The Tana Kama, which was basically the Rabbanan, nobody talked about one corner to another corner. The case was only that you lost it. Says the rabbis, everything in the house is going to be impure. Why? I'm going to say that what happened, somebody came from the outside, he was looking for something, he was touching, finally he went, he found it, and he took it.
He's impure.
Right, and that guy was impure. That guy was impure, so now everything is impure.
Right.
Okay, that's the rabbis. Comes Rashbag, and he says, no. Why am I going to start saying those things? You lent it out, and you forgot. Or you had it in one corner of the house, and you put it in another corner of the house, and you forgot. So the Gemara is going to ask, who's talking about the corners of the house? We were just talking about that somebody came from the outside, or you lent it out, but nobody's talking about one corner to another corner. It got lost. Who's talking about from one corner to another corner? Zavit man dechashmeh. So the Gemara says, you're right. It's lacking part of the Braita, and this is the way that you're supposed to read the Braita. Meaning that there's part of the Braita which was missing. But who's talking about corners here? So the Braita has to read like this. Kardom shavad babait, habayit tameh. If you had an axe that was lost in the house is going to be tameh. Shani omer, because I'm going to say that a person that was impure came in, and he took it, and he was touching everything. Or, right? Or in a case where you put it in one corner and you find another corner, also the bite is going to be tameh. Why? Shani omer adam tameh, because I'm going to say that the same thing. That a person that was tameh came into my house and he moved it from one corner to another corner. How could it be that I don't remember that I moved it from one corner to another corner? So it had to be somebody else that was tameh. He came inside, he moved it from one corner to another corner. So now you do see that even in the first case of the Rabbanan, there is already from one corner to another corner. Now Rashbag comes and is also going to speak about both cases. Rashbag says, no. The bite is tahor. Why? Because I'm going to say that you lent it out to somebody and you forgot. Or you took it from one corner to another corner and you forgot. Right? So therefore now it makes sense, Rashbag, because now we understand why they're talking about corners. Because beforehand they weren't talking about corners. But now according to this, it comes out, right, the exact same thing. If you put the chametz in one corner and you found it in another corner, according to Rashbag, that he says it was probably you yourself and you forgot, so you don't have to do a nubirikat chametz. But according to the Rabbanan, they're going to say that it was somebody else that was tameh. He came and he started moving around, so it could be that now you're going to have a problem that you have to do a nubirikat chametz. Right? Because obviously he came in, he was probably touching other things, he probably had chametz, he started moving one from another, this, that, and then you have a problem. Also, Amar Rava says, Achban nichnas v'kikar befiv, v'nichnas acharav u'matza pirurim. Tzarich bedika mipnei she'en darko shel achbar lefarer. Says Rava a general rule. We're learning about mice now. It says if you have a mice that comes into your house and he has food in his mouth, yeah, and then he comes inside, you have to check. And then what did you do? You run in behind him and you find crumbs along the floor. So says the Gemara, you have to do b'dikat chametz. Why? She'en darko shel achbar lefarer. Achbarim, they're very, very menumasim. They have etiquette. Yeah, they're polite. They have etiquette. They have manners. Right? Derech eretz. You think they're going to start making crumbs on the floor? Right? That's only... Okay, we don't want to go continue. Yeah. No, they don't make crumbs on the floor. So what happens? So obviously it's not the mouse. So therefore you have to do b'dikat chametz because you found crumbs. Ve'amar Rava, another halacha. Tinoch nichnas. What happens if you have a child that goes into the house? He's got bread in his hand. And then you come in and you find crumbs, and tzarich b'dika. Now you don't have to do b'dikat chametz. Why? Because children, they make crumbs. You look at children, how do they eat? They're always playing with the food, always making a balagan, always, touching. That's the way of children. They always want to play. So therefore you don't have to, because I know that these crumbs came from the bread. So therefore, whatever he had in his mouth or whatever he had in his hands, right? For sure, it's these crumbs, and therefore I don't have to do b'dikat chametz anymore. I clean up that crumbs, and that's it. I don't have to start looking the entire house again. Okay. Next, first question.
You have to see whether it's a mouth or whether it's a baby.
Yeah, you have to see. Is it a child that's coming inside, or is it a? No, not you see crumbs. You have to see. So by Rava, Rava comes and he asks, "Achbar nichnas v'kika befiv, right? Ve'achbar yotzeh v'kika befiv." What happens if the mouse comes in and out? He comes in with a piece of bread and he comes out with a piece of bread. Right? Do we say that it's the same piece that he went in, he came out? Maybe it's a different piece. Yeah, how do you know? Well, what do you do? So says the Gemara, Intin salomar hainu hay de'al hainu. Even if you're going to tell me that the one that you came in was the same one that you took out, achbar lavan nichnas v'kikar befiv, v'achbar shachor yotze v'kikar befiv. What happens if you have a white mouse coming in with the bread in his mouth, and then you have a black mouse coming out, right, with the thing? So what, are you going to say again, like what we said yesterday, it's Tom and Jerry and he got painted up, or I don't know what happened. You know, what's going on? All of a sudden he got painted and he came out. What do you say? Haiva daya charina. Who do you say for sure it's a different one? Or Dilmar, maybe you're going to say, armuye armemine. Maybe you're going to say that the chbar shachor, right, he peel et kikar mipi chbar alavan, and then he took it. Meaning, do we say that there was a switch off, a handoff? Yeah, they were, you know, how do you call it? You know, the quarterback. Yeah, boom, they were hand off and they went running. Yeah, so maybe they handed it off. So the black one, right, they gave it to the white one gave his black, whichever one he didn't want, and then they came out. So which one? What do you do? So says the Gemara, third question. The intin salomar, now even if you're going to tell me, right, the intin salomar achbarim lo shakle me'adadi, that the achbarim do not hand off one to another, achbar nichras ve'kikar befiv, ve'chulda yotze ve'kikar befiyah. Mao. One has you a mouse coming in with a kikar in his mouth, but then you have an achulda, which we translated a weasel yesterday. John Paul, does that say weasel here? Because John Paul told us yesterday it was written in Martin or something.
No, Martin.
You have Martin?
Yes, I still have Martin.
You still have Martin, so you're using Safaria.
Yes, it's Safaria.
Okay, that's why. So Safaria is translating as Martin, and we always translate as weasel because that's our art scroll. Okay, fine. I guess we were more accustomed to art scroll than Safaria. Okay, so it says here, now you have the Martin or the weasel coming out, and he has it in his mouth. What's halakha? Do I say that the weasel or the Martin for sure took it from the akhbar? Okay, or maybe I'm going to say it's a different one. Because if he did take it from it, he would have had also the akhbar in his mouth. He would have had also the mouse in his mouth. Not only just the bread, he would have had the mouse also. The fourth question. Even if you're going to tell me, I'm glad you're enjoying, that he is going to take it from the akhbar, so then the akhbar would have been in his mouth as well. Imagine the akhbar comes inside. The weasel, the Martin, comes out, and he has the mouse with the chametz in his mouth. What do we say? So we say for sure it's the same piece and everything's the same thing. Well, Dimar, maybe we're going to say, if it's going to be the same one, he should have found also the bread in the mouth of the akhbar. Or Dilmar, I'm going to say no. Mishum bi'ituta, because he was so afraid, nafal, the kikar fell out of the mouth of the akhbar, right? That means basically the akhbar, it got all afraid. He dropped the chametz. And then the weasel picked him up, he grabbed the akhbar, and he starts running outside of the house. So now what do we say? So basically, what? Maybe he dropped the chametz. Do we do that? Teiku. We don't have an answer. Tishbi yitaretz kushiyot v'abayot. When Eliyahu Navi Zachor Latov is going to come, he's going to answer us. You have to do in all these cases or not. Okay, next. By Rava. Rava asks a question. Kikar b'shmei korah. When you have a kikar of bread, which is found on the korah, which is like a crossbeam on top of the house. Okay, tzarich sulam leorida, when tzarich. A crossbeam, it's like a piece of wood, a pillar, like it's column, right? But like it's wood. So you have, not you find, you already have. You have a piece of bread there. B'shmei korah, okay, on the top. Do you need a ladder to bring it down, or don't you need it? Do we say the rabbis didn't tell you that you have to start going on a ladder all the way up there? Imagine nowadays, they have high ceilings. You understand? It's all modern, but technically speaking, if you think about it, it's just a headache. Why do you need such high ceilings? Imagine you have to clean that. Right? Imagine you tell your cleaning lady, go clean that every single thing. Right? There's probably cobwebs.
Change the light bulb.
Exactly. Change the light bulb. You understand? You're gonna have to get a whole crew. You have to get a whole crew.
I bought one ladder.
You have to go all, but it's dangerous
Put
also.
it outside every time I have to change it.
Yeah, but it's dangerous also. You know what it is?
Very.
You know what it is? Okay, that's nice. Yeah, okay. He's smart. Yeah. He says if he's already kapara put in. Yeah, it goes for him. That's it. Okay, fine. Yeah, exactly. So he comes and he says as follows. Yeah. Yeah, so he comes and he says like this. So by Rava, kikar b'shmei korah, sulam leorida and tzarich. So do we say that the rabbis told you that you have to do that? Because at the end of the day, you don't come and bring it down on your own, so you won't need it. Or Dilmar maybe, maybe it'll fall. Yeah, the bread is up there, but maybe it's going to fall. Maybe there's going to be a big wind, or your children are playing ball, and all of a sudden, whoops, and it knocked it down, and all of a sudden it's on the floor. Maybe you're going to come to eat it on Pesach. So the question is, do we say, you know what, anyway, you're not going to go up there, so you don't have to bring it down, or not? So says the Gemara.
Remember, Rabbi, also we said about the cholim. chorim in the wall.
Yeah.
If they're too
Too high or too low,
we
exactly.
don't-
Exactly. Oh, so it says the Gemara. The imtim solomar, if you're going to tell me zimnin de nafal batun, if it's going to fall and you're going to eat it, kikar bebor. What happens if it's going to be in a pit? Tzarich besulam laloto. You have to go down with a ladder and then bring it up. When you're not. Hachavadai, because nobody's going to go down on their own. Stam on Pesach, you're going to go down in the pit just to eat chametz. Or dilmar maybe zimnin de nachal mevat tzorchei vatuluchem. Maybe you're going to go down to do your necessities and then you're going to eat it. So imtim solomar zimnin de nachal tzorchei vatuluchem. Even if you're going to tell me that you're going to go down for your necessities, you're going to eat it. Kikar befi nachash. What happens if it's in the mouth of the snake? Do you need an expert to come and take it out of its mouth, or you're going to say no? Maybe they were only toreach beguf, right? Right? Which means that now you're going to have to start paying an expert, to, one of these pest controls to take it out of the guy's mouth, out of the snake's mouth, or not. Or dimeloshna. Take, we don't have an answer. We don't have an answer.
Snake charmer.
Snake charmer. Fine. Take, we don't have an answer. Says the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda says. Botkin or larba asar, ubearba asar shachrit, uveshat biur. So you're allowed to do b'dikat chametz on the night of the 14th. On the 14th in the morning, if you remember from here, this is where we got the proof that or meant nighttime, right? Yeah, because if you didn't do it at nighttime, you do it in the morning. Imagine right now you fell asleep, right? Obviously you're not supposed to, but let's say a person fell asleep or he was force majeure, something happened, whatever, he does it in the morning. Yeah, whatever it is, even 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. As long before the zman of the biur chametz, yes. So it says over here, varbasa shachrit, and on the 14th in the morning. So if you remember from here, from the fact that we said or larbasa, and then we said varbasa shachrit, this is a proof that or meant nighttime, because it's not going to be morning or morning. So it says or larbasa, uvarbasa shachrit, uveshata biur, and during the 6th hour, which that's the time that you're going to burn the chametz. Chachamim omrim lo badak lo arbasa, yivdok biyom arbasa. Right? If you didn't do it on the night of the 14th, you do it during the day, in the morning. Lo badak barabasar. If you don't check it during the basar, yivdok betoch hamoed. You're even doing during chol hamoed. You're going to do it also. Yeah. You're sorry. I apologize. Yivdok betoch hamoed here means you're going to do it during the shah shishit, even during the time of the moed when you're supposed to be burning the chametz. Lo badak betoch hamoed. Yivdok la'achar hamoed. You're going to do it even afterwards.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I don't remember. It was 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock,
No,
whatever it is. Yeah, but you would do it later on.
If you have to.
Yeah, you would do it later
stop
on.
at 12,
It says here you would do it until nighttime, according to that. The Gemara is going to explain. But according to this is the Chachamim, no? What's this? Chachamim. Chachamim say you would do it even until nighttime. Whatever you leave over the chametz, always make sure that whenever after you finish with the chametz, you hide the chametz, right? Whatever's left over. So you don't need another b'dika. Because remember, if you're going to do b'dikat chametz and then you leave all the chametz in the table and then the mouse is going to come, you're going to start playing around, you'll get yourself in trouble. You understand? So therefore, be careful. Says the Gemara, my tama, the Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda? Meaning, Rabbi Yehuda just said in the Mishnah, you need 3 b'dikot. Well, that was what's mashma. Because Rabbi Yehuda said, botkin or arbasa, ubearbasa, uveshat biur. That means it's mashma from the Mishnah. I didn't read it to you that way. But it's mashma from the Mishnah. Maybe I was already know the maskana, maybe. But basically, the Gemara is asking, right, 1 second. If you read the Mishnah, it's telling you, Rabbi Yehuda tells you to do b'dikat chametz 3 times. Nighttime, morning, and thing. Then comes the rabbis and say, no, if you didn't check on this, then you check this. If you didn't check this, then you check this. But from Rabbi Yehuda, that's mashma. You have to do 3 b'dikot. Why do you have to do 3 b'dikot? Rav Chassav Rabbanan, the Rabba Baravuna, Rav Chassan Rabba Baravuna both say, Keneged Shalosh Shabbatot. He says, no. You have to check 3 b'dikat chametz because of the 3 times that it's mentioned Shabbatot, right, in the Torah. It says, Lo yere lecha chametz lo yerecha seor, shivat yamim seor limatzev vatechem, ach b'yom harishon tashbitu seor mibatechem. Which means, from the fact that it's written, hashbata, which means that you don't want any type of chametz in your house 3 times, so therefore you have to do b'dikat chametz 3 times.
If you want to be machmir, you do it 3 times.
If you want to be machmir, you can do it 100 times. There's no problem. Without beracha, obviously. Yeah, 100%. You can do it as many times as you want. So says the Gemara, that can be the explanation of Yehuda. Mativ Rav Yosef, right? Rav Yosef asks, Rav Yehuda says, Kol shelo badak v'shosha prakim alalu shu v'nodek. If you didn't check during these 3 times, right? So then you're not going to check at all. Alma, so you see from here, that it's always from now onwards. So if it's going to be from now onwards, right? What does that mean? That means it's not that you have to check 3 times, because if Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol shelo badak, if you didn't check during these 3 times, you don't have to check at all anymore, So it's only anymore afterwards, meaning that's the way the way that I explained the Mishnah, which means that it's 3 individual times. If you didn't check in the nighttime, you check in the morning. If you didn't check in the morning, you're going to check right like that. But not that it's three obligational of 3 times. So Marzutra, he taught this Braita in a different way. He taught like this, Mati Rav Yosef, meaning we just had Rav Yosef from this Braita. He learned it in a different way. Mati Rav Yosef, if you don't, Alma Beshuv eno bodeku de plihe. So you see from here that it's shuv eno bodek, that you don't have to check anymore afterwards, which means that it's not the time. That means the machloket Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim is only whether it's going to be prohibited to check after the 6th hour or not, but not when's the time lechatechila to check. Meaning, one more time, what do we say in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda said you check in the nighttime. If you didn't check in the nighttime, you check in the morning. If you didn't check in the morning, you check during the time of the biur chametz, but not afterwards. Says the rabbis, no. You check in the nighttime. You didn't check in the nighttime, you check in the morning. If you didn't check in the morning, you check during the time of the biur. If you didn't check during the time of the biur, you check the entire rest of the day until Shakia. Until nighttime. That's the rabbis, right? The Rabbanan. Okay, so now what he's saying is that you bring a proof from here, from the fact that there's a Braita, and the Braita says, Kol shelo badak, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol shelo badak, he doesn't have to check any more times again. So you see from here that we're talking about shuveno bodek is the machloket. Meaning the entire machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis is, what's the finishing time of checking? Not what's the lechatechila time of checking, because that there's no machloket. Okay? When is the machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan? Only when it finishes the time of checking. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the time of the biur chametz. According to the rabbis, until the nighttime. But the machloket is not when are you supposed to do bedikat chametz lechatechila. Nobody argues on that. So there, everyone agrees. Lechatechila, you do it on the nighttime. If you didn't do it, then you do it the next day. But not that you have to do it 3 times. So it's not like that. Ela Rabbi Yehuda nami im lo badak kamer. You're right. So even Rabbi Yehuda and our Mishnah is the same thing. Meaning not that you have to do 3 obligations of check, or. If you didn't do it, it's not or.
No.
Right? Because if it's or, it's mashma lechatchila, you could do whichever one it is. It's not or. Meaning the first one is nighttime, according to everybody. If you didn't, so then the second place is morning. If you didn't, third place is this. You understand? That's how it is. Right, the nighttime. Very good. Ela Rabbi Yehuda nami im lo badak kamer. Yeah, he's learning to think like the Gemara. Yeah, he says, Rabbi Yehuda is also, he says, im lo badak kamer. He's saying also if he didn't check. This is the machlok between the morsavan mikame isura in patar isur lo. That means according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can only check for chametz before the time of the isur. After the time of the isur, no. Gezerah, because it's a decree. Maybe you're going to come to eat it. The Rabbanan Savli and the rabbis hold lo gazrin, and we don't make such a decree. So says the Gemara, right? Because basically that means even though you're doing bedikat chametz, you're not going to start eating it, even though it's after the time of the isur. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he was afraid. If you're going to do bedikat chametz at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe you're going to find a good piece of chametz. You're going to say chaval. I wasn't able to burn it. I wasn't able to sell it. I wasn't able to. No, gezerah. I don't know how to do that. According to the rabbis, we don't make such a decree. So says the Gemara, does the Yehuda actually make such a gezerah? Maybe you're going to eat it. But now we learned in the Mishnah Menachot Tzarech Zayin Amud Bet. Mishekarav HaOmer, once the Korban HaOmer comes, Yotzin u'motzin Shukei Yerushalayim shemelim kemach. You're going to bring out into the Shukei Yerushalayim everything. Remember, Korban HaOmer permits Chadash, which means there's a concept of Chadash and Yashan. Anything that was planted, right, which was after or actually took root, not planted, everything to which was planted and took root after the 16th, right, after Pesach, it becomes Chadash. So therefore, you have to wait until the next year, until Tetzayin in Nisan. Tetzayin in Nisan comes, that's when they used to bring the Korban HaOmer. That permits all of the Chadash. That's why every year after Pesach, there's no problem with Chadash and Yashan. Until August, September, until whenever it is, right? Until they start the new process. So it's a beracha. Why? Because after Pesach, everyone's able to eat. Right? Bon appetit. You can eat whatever you want. Nobody drives the caterers crazy, asking whether it's Chadash or Yashan. It'll be funny if people actually do ask him and he doesn't realize it. He says, I have to ask. And then he starts asking. You already know. After Pesach, there's no such thing as Chadash and Yashan until August, September. It's Korban HaOmer permits everything of Chadash. So that's what we just said here. But Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah, Mishekarav HaOmer, once the Korban HaOmer was brought, Yotzin u'motzin Shukei Yerushalayim shemelim kemach. All of a sudden you go out and you find all of the shuks, all of the marketplaces in Yerushalayim full of kemach v'kali, of all the grains and everything. Why? From the Chadash. Shelo b'Ratzon Chachamim, but they were doing not in the Ratzon of Chachamim. Do you mean? Rabbi Yehuda says, no, they were doing Ratzon Chachamim, and Rabbi Yehuda said, because he says that maybe he didn't make a gezerah, maybe you're going to come to eat from it. Obviously, we're going to explain it again tomorrow, but that's the concept. We'll see it tomorrow.